Welcome to the Life Lift Podcast, the podcast for the ambitious, the purpose-driven, and the ones who know they're meant for more. If you're ready to unlock the next version of yourself, you're in the right place.
Hey everyone, I'm Kaly.
And I'm Adam, and this podcast is for people who are done playing small. Whether you're building a business, rethinking your identity, or just craving more from life.
We're two friends, entrepreneurs and growth junkies who have built businesses, hit burnout, and found our way back to purpose. And now we're here to help you do the same, but faster, clearer, and without breakdown. Let's get started. Hi everyone, welcome back to your friends Adam and Kaly to the Life Lift podcast. And today we're going to talk about all the tools that you need to become bulletproof, because it's a tough world out there and there are so many highs, but equally there are lows. And sometimes the lows are pretty bad, but it does make you appreciate the highs. So we want to talk about those tools to get you through so you can go back up to soaring out high and to make yourself as bulletproof as possible. And I really want to give Adam the opportunity today to give us the secret sauce and how you become literally sequin bulletproof and what made you have that awakening or that call, because nobody chooses to go into a low, it happens to us. So when do you have a moment in your life where you felt so low that you had to build armor?
Yeah, so I think in life, a lot of people have moments that truly do define who they are. And I think when you go through stuff, it's only when you look back that you see how monumental those times were. Mm-hmm. There's a meme on Instagram that's going around at the moment, and it's this guy who's on a speedboat. And when you look at the front of the speedboat, everything's completely still. It doesn't even look like it's moving. But then the camera pans back, and behind it's going so fast, mm-hmm. like a rocket. Mm-hmm. But at the time, you don't necessarily see that you're making progress. And I think that meme for me really, it's really stuck in my mind of when I look back at my life, things that when at the time you feel that you're not moving very quickly through something, but actually in reality, you came through it very, very fast and built a different set of armor mm-hmm. based off what's been required at the time.
Yeah.
So for me, I don't really talk very often about my journey of coming out, but certainly for me, when I came out, that was one of the moments in my life where I had to grow a new set of armor mm-hmm. and let go as well of a lot of stuff from the past. And I think if anyone's coming out is like it's like quite a unique, it is unique to each and every person.
Yeah.
But if you're straight, the idea of coming out can be quite foreign, mm-hmm. I think, because a lot of my straight friends have said, but why is it such a big deal? Or like, why is it such a big event in your life? And for me, it was a huge event. For lots of other people, I've talked to other gay people, and they're like, oh my gosh, I came out when I was like 2 and everything was great. I mean, I wish that was me, but that just wasn't my journey. But for me at the time in my 20s, I'd been struggling for a long time really with just not feeling like I was living in the right place. I was as if I wasn't in the right body, so to speak. Not that I wanted to become a woman or anything like that, but I didn't feel like I was in my lane at all, and had got married at 21, had 2 kids pretty much who were under 3. Indy was only just born. I was traveling a lot with my job, like at least 40 weeks out of the year I would be in and out of the country. I lived in Manchester at the time. All of the time knowing that like I was giving everything to my job, everything to being a good dad. I was trying to be a good husband to my wife at the time. And
was it distraction?
It was distraction, yeah, because it was one of the lowest moments of my whole entire life. And I think, and I didn't have the tools at the time to deal with how I was feeling. I didn't speak to anybody. So I grew up in a very religious household where basically on the surface, everything has to look okay all the time. Like we've talked about this before as well with your upbringing. And I was taught to not show that because it was weak. And you're not weak. You have to be strong all the time. And you have to be perfect. And everything's got to be perfect. You know, that's the only way I can describe it. And would be at church dealing with all my friends were in the church. I didn't have any friends that were outside of the church. It was like a cult, really.
It's so hard.
And it had always been that way since I was tiny. Like my parents had brought me up in the church. So all my friends were very, very religious. Got engaged when I was 19. You know, it was very much like no sex before marriage. Don't even think about doing anything sexual before.
Yeah, it's the exact same for me.
It was like kiss, but not even with a tongue. You know what I mean? Because then you're going to burn.
I didn't even have that. My mom was like,
it was so bad.
If you hold hands, you're going to fall pregnant. So like, don't touch me.
Exactly. No. Yeah. So it was pretty bad. And so let alone in that, knowing that I was most likely gay at the same time and going to hell. Yeah. And I remember there's this visiting pastor came to the church once, and he would sometimes like call people up and, you know, like do these prophetic things over them, which is like, you know, tell the future. I mean, looking back, you know, I just think, what was I thinking?
The Delulu levels were 100.
They were cranked up. And, you know, then people going, oh, you're going to do this, you're going to be a missionary. And all the time I'm thinking, I'm just a little gay boy. And I can't even tell you, you know what I mean? And then my wife sat just over there and my two kids. And then at the same time, like in and out of the country. And it sounds funny. Like it actually, when I tell the story, it
You're
doesn't seem like it's that big of a deal. But oh my God, like I have never been, aside from maybe one or two other times in my life, I've never been so depressed. And so my coming out story really started before, when I left my old job at Barclays Bank. I traveled a lot with my job at the bank and had a really great job. I loved my job. And then I left that to set my own business up and then subcontracted to this lady over in America for a while. And that was kind of my glimpse into this freedom that I'd never had before, because I'd only ever worked like around where I grew up.
Yeah.
Like I said, all my friends that I ever saw were from the church. So, you know, everything was so clean. I mean, we couldn't even watch over 15 movies. Like I remember the pastor.
That's my life. You literally lived my life.
Yeah. And we had this pastor that came over from America. He was the youth pastor. And he was, as soon as he came over, he was like, right, okay, there's none of this, no kissing, no, like boys and girls have to be separate. Like, so, and even in like at the church, like some of the guys would sit on this side, the girls would sit on this side.
But you just make me want it more though.
Well, I wanted to be on the boys' side, if I'm being honest.
Same, but so, for different reasons.
Different reasons. Same reason, but different. Yeah. So I was traveling, I saw this like world. So I worked with all these different hotels, and I would go and I suddenly went from like never going to a bar, never going to a restaurant, to now I'm socializing with all these fabulous
different colors
people,
and people.
Every color and every color on that rainbow flag was in those places. You know,
I love that.
I mean, it was just, but I that excited me. I was like, oh my God, this is that. Like I felt the most alive I've ever felt, and it was colorful. And you know, I used to always describe my life as black and white, and it was so boring, so dull. And I'm not that way, and I never have. And even at the church, I was always called rebellious. I was disobedient. I was like insubordinate, and I just used to think, but.
Because I want to live.
So boring. Like, come on. And so, anyway, I started to travel a lot more, and I would take any gig that I possibly could just to be away. Because when I was away, I felt like I was actually living my life, and I was who I was. And then when I get home, and I feel bad saying this because you know my wife was lovely. There's nothing that was wrong with her. She's a lovely person. Like my kids were great, but I was not great. I was not happy at all.
They were perfect. Mm-hmm.
And so around that time, I started to work a lot in Barcelona. And so I did this it was almost 4 weeks solid in Barcelona. It was in January. And so flew out straight after New Year. And a couple of weeks in, I remember thinking, I don't want to go back.
This is where I want to be forever.
I think it wasn't about even being in Barcelona. It was just this, I can't go home. And my ex-wife flew out for the weekend to spend with me. And I was so horrible. Like I wasn't very nice to her at all. And like, I remember her just thinking, I just want you to go home.
It's because you resented what she represented.
Yeah. Though. And so anyway, she then flew back home, and I was there for another 2 weeks or whatever. And I remember texting my best friend at the time, who was part of the church, and saying, like, can you pick me up from the airport? Because I really need to talk to you. And I need my best friend, like I need some advice. And so 2 weeks went by, flew home, best friend, met up with him the day I got home. And I said to him, look, I'm going to be leaving my wife. And I didn't tell him because I was gay at that point.
Yeah.
I just thought, I'll just tell him like I'm going through some stuff. And he basically looked at me and said, you're crazy. Like, you can't do this. You're going to go to hell and you're going to lose your kids.
I'm in hell right now.
Yeah, I was, literally. And I've never been so skinny. So, I mean, I'm slim anyway, but I went down to like just over like 7 and a bit stone, which is like skin and bone. Like, it was so bad. And I just didn't eat. I was so stressed. And I felt so alone. And it's the most alone I've ever felt my whole entire life, because I couldn't tell anybody that actually what was really going on. And so I remember that night, that's the last time I saw my best friend, by the way. He never spoke to me again after that.
That's not a friend. But he probably would have then thought about himself and like, how does this affect me being associated with you? Like,
probably,
you're going to go to hell. Like, I'm going to almost sacrifice myself. But that's not what friendship is. Friendship is selfless and unconditional.
Yeah, it's what it should be.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I got home and then I sat my wife down at the time and I said, look, I know something's wrong. It's clear to see. Yeah. And also I'd been horrible to her for a long time. And I'm not horrible.
Yeah.
Like, anyone that knows me knows
but you weren't yourself.
I can be direct, but I'm not hurtful.
Honey, you're direct.
Yeah. And, but I just became so bitter and not the person that I wanted to be. So I remember saying to, look, I think something's wrong. And so she's crying, I'm crying. And so she said, I think I know what's coming. So I thought, okay, well, thank God, at least she knows. And she was like, you're breaking up with me, aren't you? And so I was like, yeah,
we're breaking up with me first. Yeah.
And so she was like, is there somebody else? Is there another woman? I was like, no.
She had no idea.
And I think she did. I think she just didn't want to ask the question.
Yeah.
So I said, look, I think we need to spend a bit of time apart here. Let's just, different bedrooms or whatever we're going to do. But I need some time to figure it out. I'm not going back to church. And, you go if you want to, but I can't go there anymore. It's not working for me. So she said, if you can do anything, can you at least go and speak to somebody? Like, try and get some counseling.
That's a friend.
Or therapy, yeah. And it was. So she, so I did. Day after, I started to Google all these different therapists, and I needed to find somebody who, so I went to one place to start off with, and she was like, well, it's because you're religious, and it's because, nothing to do with being gay. It was, you work too much, you're away too much, so you should be spending more time with your family, you prioritize the wrong things, you're a workaholic. And if you fix all those things,
you'll be fine, you'll be aligned. Yeah. And
so I thought, okay, I maybe need to whittle down the road here of how to find the right therapist for me, because I needed somebody that understood religion, but like not just any religion, this like cult-like religion and what it's like to break away from that. Somebody that understood sexuality, because I'd not told anybody I was gay up until this stage. I'd not even said the words. And somebody that would be able to be removed enough that they didn't know anybody, because also where I lived, everybody really knew.
Yeah, that's the worst part.
And so I went through loads. I must have gone through about 10 different therapists, and each one of them all said, I work too hard, I should spend more time with my family, I should be a better dad by spending more time with my kids, and I should take my wife on more dates.
It's just so clear, it's just distraction though.
Yeah. And then I remember walking into this woman's office this one day, and I'll never forget her. She had this white top on, fiery red dyed hair, short. I think it was probably a lesbian. I was getting that vibe, yeah. And as soon as I sat down in front of her, I was wearing this white t-shirt and these cream shorts. It was middle of summer by this stage, because it took me a long time to find a therapist. And
wow, there's like January to summer.
Yeah, a long time.
It's a long time.
Yeah, and so I sat down and she said, okay, so like, what do you want to talk about? And I couldn't say why I was there. So she said, well, I'm not really supposed to say this, but can I ask you a question? And so I said, okay, yeah, go for it. And I was like trembling at this point, thinking, what is she going to ask me? And I was desperate for someone to ask me.
Yeah.
And she looked me in the eye and she said, is it because you're gay? And so I remember I just burst out crying straight away. And
What a relief.
It was literally like someone had opened this valve and
the pressure just blew out. Yeah.
So I said, yeah, it is. And she was like, have you told anybody? I was like, no, you're the first person I've spoke to. And I said, I've been to so many different therapists and they've all said this. And she was like, forget all that, honey. Like you're here now. And so what she taught me during that time, because it took me a while after that to actually tell people that I was gay. And even like a couple of times after that, after I met with her, and she then said, okay, I think you're ready now to go and talk to your wife and actually tell her why. And in fairness, Jen took it really well. And, she kind of said, I know what it is. And, I was just waiting for you to tell me. So,
which is so respectful of her, because I can imagine how frustrating it is to be like, just put me out of my misery and just tell me.
Yeah.
But she never uttered the words on your behalf.
No.
I think that's incredibly stoic.
Yeah, it was.
But also as a woman that's married, if my husband was ever to leave, I would want it to be for him to live his authentic life. So if you truly love someone, there's no other option but to be amicable.
Yeah.
If there was another woman though, honey,
that's a different story. Yeah.
Be like,
yeah, get me the bazooka.
Yeah, I'm done.
So the reason I'm telling you this is because I think for me, a huge part of becoming bulletproof for me was about actually, a lot of people say you got to just be your authentic self.
Yeah, but if you don't know who that is or you're ashamed of that, it's very, very difficult.
It is.
Very wishy-washy advice.
It's actually it's quite hard to be who you want to be without breaking out of who you were.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people since have asked me, how did you get through that? And the reality for me was I didn't know anyone that was gay that had kids. And everything that I read online at the time was, and I was part of this forum, it was a gay men's forum in Manchester. And I was reading all this stuff, and most of the men on there lost their kids. Like they didn't see their kids at all after that, because their wives turned against them and made it really difficult. And for me, all I've ever wanted to be was a dad. I love being a dad.
Yeah.
But at the time, for me, my world was you're going to lose your kids, and you either stay and you keep your kids, or you go and you lose your kids. And that I got legal advice, and a couple of the lawyers I spoke to both said, well, the reality is that the kids are going to go live with their mom. You're probably going to see them a night or two a week, and that killed me because I thought I've gone from all I want to do is be a dad, and the thought of not seeing my kids for a day was like a nightmare. You know? Mm-hmm. So for me, that was bad. And then as the reality sank in for my ex-wife, things then also got harder because then, you're not living in this idea anymore. Like now it's
even
reality.
Her world has crumbled as well.
And she wasn't ready for it. And, she had her life that she thought she was going to get taken off her, so to speak.
The world's totally crumbled.
So not only was I dealing with my own stuff, but then also trying to be a friend to her. But then, it's this love-hate relationship where she hates you, then she loves you. I hate her, then I love her too. And it's like, can we make it work? No, can we not? And for the kids. And then also on top of that, all my friends at church didn't ever speak to me, literally blocked me overnight and didn't want anything to do with me anymore. And I remember I saw the pastor of the church in Starbucks. This was not long after I'd come out. And he literally just looked at me and walked straight by me. And I was one of the leaders at the church before all this. I was raised in a Catholic school, but I was raised in a Muslim household. And effectively it's the same message, by the way, just two different languages. Just do good and be good. So as a pastor who is walking the word of God, how could you be so unkind to somebody that was so alone? That is not the word of God. Even if he could say to you, I'm so sorry you're going through it. I appreciate it's a hard time. The doors are always open. That's way more dignified than just completely ignoring your existence. It's just not. It was foul. Really the word of God. And so that was kind of a real stab in the heart because this person had been a person I'd known my whole life and guided you as well. Yeah. So this podcast is all about becoming bulletproof. And the reason I tell this story is because a lot of the time you only get a thicker skin by going through something that's really difficult. Mm-hmm. There's a reason that most bullets don't pierce metal. And then there's a bullet that's specifically made to penetrate, the tank. Yeah. And sometimes you have to be put under so much pressure or go through something really, really difficult to actually grow the strength to pierce through that again and become stronger. And the thing I learned about myself, and it's what I've shared with lots of other people now over the last, I've been out now for maybe 14 years, is when it gets tough, there are people there. You just need to look for them. And that was what I found, is that as I started to get a bit more strength, was that actually all these people who they were nobodies to me before that, they started to become somebodies, and actually letting those people in to who you are, your new chapter is a really important thing, because those people will drag you forward. I think the other thing is you have to, for me, I needed to go speak to somebody, because those thoughts, I mean, I was suicidal during that time, and I came quite close a number of times to to going down that road, and I'm so glad I didn't, and the only thing that made me not is because of my kids. Because I didn't know Connor at this point, and
they would have been your bulletproof until you found your own armor.
Yeah, I think it's having a reason to do what you do, and I think when I look back, if I could give myself advice about how to get through that differently or quicker, or because it took me a long time to get through that, and even now, you can see it. There's still the wound hasn't totally healed, and I don't think it ever will. And I think that's maybe a good thing too, is that I think it should always be a little bit raw, because there's so many other people I've met since then who I've been able to put a bit of an arm around, or like there's a couple of guys who've they've been in similar situations that have come out to me and said, how do I navigate this? I've got a wife, I've got a girlfriend, and I think that in itself is given me a lot of strength as I've got a bit older. But I think the thing that I'm so glad that I did do was I've always been quite stubborn, and I knew I was right the whole way. I just wish I'd have done it sooner. And I think back yourself. And this is, I think, why it's so important to have people around you that they see who you are when you don't see who you are. Because as I started to move away from, obviously all the people that blocked me, that then left a big space for people, because I had no friends, and actually going and meeting friends. And I remember
I could not imagine you with no friends.
Honestly, that was so lonely.
Alien concept.
But since then, I've made some brilliant friends. And one of my friends, Michelle, she's American. And not long after I came out, I worked with her for many years, and I flew out to San Diego where she lived. And I'll never forget, it was the weekend that Robin Williams died. You remember?
Oh, yeah.
And he killed himself.
Wow, how apt. He was the same.
Yeah, well, not gay, but yeah.
No, as in depression. But he said something really poignant, like the ones that smile, the ones that make other people smile are not always happy inside, something like that. And
it's true. It's true. And I remember I'd not told Michelle why I was coming out to see her, because we used to hang out all the time anyway. But that weekend, really, she became my sister that weekend. Yeah. And, we cried and we laughed, and then she took the mick out of me and totally made me feel.
You need that.
Yeah. And
normal.
She made me feel normal. And we went to some little gay bars and stuff. First time I'd ever really been to a gay bar.
Oh my God, it's the best.
And I remember just thinking, where have you been all my life? And she was there. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And this is the thing I learned, is that actually the people that you need to make yourself stronger are already there. You just need to move away from the toxic ones, or the people that are holding you back, and move towards the ones that are going to bring you forward. I saw this thing the other day. It was all these different flowers in a field, and there was one flower that stood really tall over them all, and it said, when you believe in your own flower, or when you believe in your own beauty and what you've got to offer the world, you inspire all the others to do the same. And it was all these other little seedlings that had started to grow around it. And I thought, what a great analogy for what the story I was going to tell you today, which is that when you live actually who you are and you don't hold yourself back, you naturally will shed the people that don't fit and don't align with that. Yeah. And you will attract the people that do. And actually, by living who you are, I hope I've inspired lots of other people that I don't even know their names, that see me and see the stuff I post with my husband and my kids, and And I hope that inspires them, and at least makes them think, if they can do it, then I can do it too.
Yeah.
But the thing I learned was make space for the people, because there are people there that want you to win. There's people that don't want you to win too, and you've got to know how to identify those people.
There's a lot of those.
But coming through that, I will say this, that I now live in a real unapologetic way. I don't care anymore what a lot of people think. And it's because when so many people, I think, turn away from who you are, you have to do one of two things. I think you either become strong or you stay weak.
And you take it back.
And I don't want to be weak, and I think the fire that's always been in me has always been, you are not weak. There's something inside of you. You're a powerhouse. And it's what I say to you all the time, remember who you are. That I say that to myself every single day. But you're my
Michelle.
Thanks. Yeah. Oh,
you are my Michelle.
You think so?
Yeah, 100%. You're the one that got me through the lows, which we've discussed in another episode. And
really?
Because I was the same. I grew up in a Muslim household, and then I was in a Catholic school, and it was like no sex before marriage, and we've left our country. Don't forget where you're from, and like you can't wear this, and you can't talk like that. And I remember I said a really bad word. It wasn't even that bad. It was like dick or something. And my aunt was like, "You're vulgar. You're disgusting.
Oh my God.
You're a total shamble to your family. You're ruining the reputation. Your family has given up everything, and you're here like destroying it." I just felt guilty all the time for being me, and I shunned who I was all the time. So your Barcelona was my Viper. Viper on Great Western Road was my Barcelona. Like that was the one night a week, if I was allowed to go out, that I could just go and dance and be me and like flirt and have a good time, and it was heaven. Like all my friends that still are my friends in that phase where I literally lived in Viper know like how happy I was, and it's because it was the first time I was able to be myself. But I
love that.
Totally appreciate that what you're saying is that you just gotta back yourself, and I had to back myself and back myself. But I didn't lose as much as you had to lose, and I think it's incredibly brave to go through it, and you knew that you were going to hurt somebody that you deeply loved and cared for, because the long game was that then she could live her authentic life, which she is. She's happy, and you both co-parent the most incredible kids. They're so polite, so well dressed, so well presented, interesting, fun, and like going through the age that you were when you were kind of going through all that. And
well, they're the same age that your kids are now.
Which really, it's bizarre. Like life goes too fast. But I think when you're talking about these flowers, that nature shows us every year that it's good to shed. And just because you're bare for a season doesn't mean that you're not going to blossom again. And actually, the flowers are usually bigger and brighter. And it's just so apt that we're having this conversation here. Surrounded by all these beautiful. And I'm so proud of you.
Thank you so much. I think for anybody that's struggling, and this isn't about just being gay, it really is anything that is, lots of people will be in relationships that they know they shouldn't be in. Some people will be in jobs that they know they shouldn't be in. They're doing something with their life.
Entertaining friendships that it's over.
And it doesn't matter what it is. One of my biggest kind of bulletproof moments that I've now, it's really toughened me up was that, like I've just shared. But it doesn't actually matter if you're listening to this and a lot of what I've said has resonated with you and you think, I feel similar to that, maybe just in a different scenario, then what I would say is there will be people that already know and see it in you. Go find those people. Make some phone calls. Send a couple of texts out and see who replies. I used to liken it like throwing the fishing line. Like if I had 10 fishing lines, 10 different fishing rods, throw 10 out. You'll get one back. And that friend will help you to get through this next stage. And sometimes you just need somebody to say, this is going to be really bad for a bit of time, or it could be for a long time, but you will get out of it. I'm going to walk with you every step of the way. I don't know if you've ever, do you know the Footsteps poem? And then the footstep disappears. And it's during that time, and it's the man's walking, anyone's not heard this, the poem or the story goes like this, that there are two sets of footprints walking along the sand. And then at one point, there's only one set of footprints. And the man or woman says to God, who's walking with him, why did you leave me? Because there are only one set of footprints. And then at the end, God says back, that's not when I left you, that's when I carried you. And I think that's so symbolic of what great friendship does, is that when you're not strong, your great friends are the ones that carry you. And, you have to let them carry you. Don't be afraid. I know, I feel like that too. You have to let them take the weight, because actually during that time, that's where you become strong, so that you can walk again. And my friends did that for me when I was weak and needed some strength. Michelle was one of those friends massively for me. And, and I think my message to anybody that's going through something is, you have people already that are there. Let them take the weight for a little while until your legs get strong and you can start.
And then you can carry, which you have done beautifully. It's not even about me. I don't know. I'm so upset about it.
Yeah. So
I'm sorry you had to go through that.
That's okay. I'm glad I did.
And I was too busy in Viper.
Where were you during this time?
I was on Great Western Road.
I hadn't met you then. Although I think if I hadn't met you, then you would have definitely been there.
Yeah, I would have, 100%.
So I think my takeaway message, or the thing that I would wrap this up with is this, that life is not easy. And when it's hard, a couple of things. Number one is, you're never alone, even though you think you were. And when I look back, I totally thought I was alone. And my friends had to jump in to save me. And if they hadn't, I probably wouldn't be here. You know? And I don't say that lightly. Like, my friends truly saved me at that time. The ones that and these were like very young relationships, and they did something that all those people that called themselves friends for all those years didn't do.
Yeah.
And that's what real friendship is all about. And the second thing I would say is that, in life isn't about becoming tough. Life is about becoming smarter and growing and becoming a good human being. I'm a better human being now because of my past and my scars. And if that helps people in the future to live their lives better, then great. But for nothing else, if it only helps me to live a life that I feel happy and proud to live, that then my family and my friends benefit from, then I think it's worth it. So be brave and
back yourself. Ask for help.
We talk about this in every single episode that we've done. You have to back yourself. And I think it's okay to have that belief. Make space for others, I would say. And keep going. Don't give up. There was a song by, is it Peter Gabriel? I think his name is, I can't remember. I'm sure it's Peter Gabriel. And the song is called Don't Give Up. And I used to listen to that all the time when I was going through this song that is so, this one line that just kept jumping out at me, which is don't give up.
Yeah.
Keep going.
You just got to go through it. There's a book that I'm reading for the kids about the bear hunt, and they're searching for a bear, and there's so many obstacles that come. There's grass, there's mud, there's the forest, there's the woods. And every single time it acknowledges the hurdle, and then it says, we can't go over it, we can't go under it. And I say to the kids, and then they continue and they say, we have to go through it. And it's so true of life. Like, you had to go through that to be who you are today, which is this amazing, flamboyant, inspiring. Literally, that's what you do. You motivate people. And if you hadn't gone through it and you tried to go over it or under it, then it would be a very different story.
Yeah.
So if this has resonated with you, or you're going through your bulletproof phase, then go through it, back yourself, and please like, follow, and share us for more advice on how to lift your life and take it to the next level. From your friends, Adam and Kaly.
Bye. This is the Life Lift podcast with Adam and Kaly, where we look at how to make shift happen. From our home to yours, we hope you feel inspired and motivated to do at least one thing differently today as you make your own shift happen towards a more rewarding and fulfilling life filled with purpose and happiness.